what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is king.
Growing anxiety across America as the government shutdown stretches into its fourth week. Officials warning 42 million Americans could lose their food stamp benefits in 2 weeks, with SNAP on track to run out of funding. The president ramping up pressure on Democrats, already freezing billions of dollars in infrastructure projects in blue states and threatening to slash programs.
The federal appeals court rules the administration can deploy the National Guard in Portland, Oregon.
This ruling reverses a lower court ruling that had blocked the deployment to Oregon. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem writing in a statement, quote, "Another victory for President Trump and the safety and security of the American people. The law, U.S. Constitution, and Supremacy Clause back the president's action to protect the public and law enforcement, and today this ruling has vindicated us."
Vice President JD Vance just arrived in Israel in an effort to strengthen the ceasefire deal. Vance is joining the president's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner there. The visit comes after Israel accused Hamas of violating the deal and launched attacks in Gaza over the weekend.
We are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and this is a very, very tough situation. You have two peoples, two enemies who have fought a very tough conflict against each other. You have a terrorist organization on one hand that murdered a lot of innocent people. You've got an Israeli army that was defending itself on the other, that has learned a lot over the past couple of years. And then, of course, you have an innocent civilian population in Gaza that's caught in the middle. But we're here at the Civilian Military Cooperation Center, which we are announcing the opening of. You have Israelis and Americans working hand in hand to try to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza, to implement a long-term peace.
President Trump's declaration that the U.S. is now in an armed conflict with drug cartels. For weeks, the U.S. Navy has been targeting Venezuelan ships it says carry drugs to the United States. The White House is calling the drug runners, quote, unlawful combatants. That's a term that was once used to describe al-Qaeda members.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. And today is October 21st, 2025, Anno Domini. Guys, throw the shot back up. 2025, Anno Domini. And we've got a live shot for you. Now, normally we do live bump shots of the White House. And I want to let you all know that what you're looking at right now is, in fact, a live shot of the White House. Now, guys, is it possible to show the mansion along with the shot? Like, can you do a split screen there? I know I'm producing this on the fly, but I want people to know what's going on. That what we're showing you is the East Wing renovations that are ongoing right now. So that is the executive mansion. And of course, what you're seeing are the renovations that are being done to the East Wing. And so, of course, everyone knows phase one of renovation is demolition. And I got to tell you, my brother, who is an experienced craftsman, had actually said publicly, and I've communicated this as well to the White House, that is it possible for perhaps pieces of the historic facade of the East Wing, and obviously some of the structural stone there and the rest, to be auctioned off at salvage? And will there be a possibility for this as possibly a way to even raise funds for the new construction and for the ballroom? This has actually been something that my brother has been working on for years. He did this a lot in Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, my wedding gift that I received from him, myself and Tanya Tay, was a piece of the original, I think it's granite, the original granite floor of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we got married in Valley Forge. And so he got us a piece of the original floor of Independence Hall where the founders actually walked. And so it's an incredible thing. And I would think it's great if the White House were able to put up something like that, or make an auction, or make it available for people, because this is, of course, part of history. But there's a lot of history of changes to the White House. If you go and read about it, the Oval Office has changed. The Oval Office actually used to be in the center of the White House. Now it's over in the West Wing. The West Wing, of course, didn't exist before FDR. So a lot of people saying, oh, what's President Trump doing? But in fact, the history of the White House itself has been of an ever evolving building. And President Trump absolutely, and it's just a logical step. You got to put a ballroom in there. You need a place to be able to host these great dinners and these great events when you're bringing in heads of state from around the world. And, you know, just as a personal touch, I would love if it were to be named the Charles J. Kirk White House Ballroom. Vice President JD Vance now landing on the ground in Israel. He's gone there to strengthen the peace deal between Israel and Hamas. Now, of course, we saw that flare up over the weekend, but JD Vance going there, he's accompanied by Witkoff, he's accompanied by Jared Kushner as well. And there was this incredible interview that was given on 60 Minutes with Witkoff and Kushner talking about how, look, you know, these two sides, they want to fight. These two sides are really seriously itching for a fight with one another, and how it's the United States that's really come down in the middle to be the mediator and to be the one that's standing and putting leverage on both sides in a way that, by the way, doesn't look like the United States is able to do directly on Russia the way that we are with Israel, because Russia does not depend on Israel for anything depend on America for anything whatsoever. And what that means is that this latest idea of a Trump-Putin summit in Budapest is now supposedly either being postponed or potentially canceled. So, of course, we're following that. We're following all the updates. Vice President on the ground in Israel. The Gaza peace deal. Will it strengthen? Will it hold? Well, folks, so much of this is continuing, and Human Events Daily, we're going to bring it back home after covering the world front here on Real America's Voice. Stay tuned.